Greetings and Namaste. This is Michael Monk from Bioluminology, and welcome to Science of the Soul. This is going to be the first in a series of videos where I will be publicly sharing what I feel to be the most crucial foundation of knowledge that allows a person to expand beyond the limited paradigm of the physical reality and into their true nature as a spiritual being. The message I want to share is a revelation of our true beingness as humanity, that we are not physical creatures of bone, blood, and tissue, doomed to die one day, as it might seem. We are spiritual beings. We are consciousness that expresses itself as radiant spiritual energy. We are eternal living light temporarily dwelling within a human body. And if this is our true nature, then why is it that we experience ourselves as being limited physical beings, and what can we do to expand beyond that? Before incarnation into the physical reality, our consciousness was expressing itself in its natural state of soul, which is a sphere of radiant spiritual energy, or what we call an orb of living light. This orb is basically limitless in its capabilities. It can expand and contract. It can change its frequency or vibration. It can travel interdimensionally, and it can fuse itself with existing structures. It can also morph itself into any form that it has previously memorized through incarnation. So any form that your soul has memory of being embodied as is a form that it can shift itself into at will from its natural spiritual state, which is a big part of why we are here experiencing ourselves as being human, because it's a beautiful form, because it's an amazing medium for our soul to express itself through, and thus we wish to have it eternally. And there is only one way to do that, and that is to spend enough time embodied as a human. What we did to incarnate into physical reality was we took our consciousness, which was expressing itself in its natural state as an orb of living light, and we overlapped it with the electrical system of the human body, the nerve fiber system, and the neuron structure of the brain. The electrical energy of the human body is of a greater intensity than the subtle spiritual energy that our soul was used to. So right away, when we overlapped ourself within it, we became massively hypnotized and completely entrained within it. So much so that we forgot entirely about the living light that we came from and found ourselves locked within the electrical system of the body, and therefore forced to experience exclusively through the preset range of the five senses. This put us in a state of consciousness that we call separation. Being confined to the electrical system of the human body eliminated our innate ability to expand our sense of being in order to encompass the reality that surrounds us. It also put us in a state of separation from the soul, because memory, which forms our sense of self and personality, is now confined to the neuron structure of the brain, so we are unable to access memories that are contained within our living light. This essentially created a split personality within our soul, the human self, or what some call the ego consciousness. And this new self through which we are expressing must one day wake up, expand beyond the confines of the electrical system of the human body, and into unity with the living light of the soul. I'm sure that most of you are already familiar with the idea that there is a veil that separates the physical reality from the spiritual reality, and that is absolutely true. But it is often interpreted as a very mystical and mysterious thing, as though it is some real barrier that our consciousness must pass through in order to experience the spiritual planes of existence. But the veil is merely a mental barrier. It is simply the vibrational and structural variance between the self as it knows itself while embodied within the electrical system of the human body, and the self as it knows itself while embodied within the living light. I want to share what happens each night as we fall asleep, because it's not like our consciousness ceases to exist except for some vague electrical activity in our brain. We actually leave our bodies. Our consciousness departs from the nervous system of the human body, embodies itself within the living light, and goes off and explores many other systems of reality, except that it must pass through this veil, which is the vibrational and structural variance between the two states of being, and thus memory is not shared between the two states of consciousness. Allow me to explain in greater detail, but first I would like for you to take a moment and familiarize yourself with this diagram. It is a graphical representation of how our brainwave states relate to our perception of reality. Physical reality is experienced within the beta and alpha brainwave range, and spiritual reality is experienced from within the theta brainwave range. However, most people do not currently have waking consciousness within the theta brainwave state, and thus all that they experience of the spiritual reality is what is able to filter through their consciousness as dreams. Each night as we relax our mind to fall asleep, there is a natural gravity that pulls our consciousness down out of the beta and alpha range and into the theta brainwave state where multidimensional spiritual reality is experienced. The problem, though, is that we must pass through this veil, which is the vibrational and structural variance between the two states of consciousness. And the variance is so vast that as we shift from one state to the other, we black out or lose consciousness as we pass through the veil. Thus, our waking consciousness is not brought into the multidimensional spiritual state. And the same thing happens when we return to our bodies. We still must pass through this veil, and thus our multidimensional spiritual consciousness is not brought into the normal waking state. Memory is not shared between the two states of being, and thus we remain ignorant of our true and divine nature and all that we do from outside of our bodies. Now that we have explored the true nature of our beingness and how it is that we came to believe in our limitation to the physical paradigm, how can we expand beyond this and wake back up to our eternal nature as consciousness that expresses itself as living light? There are two stages to expansion of consciousness. The first and most critical is unlocking a soul connection from within the physical reality, and we achieve that by doing focus exercises, by channeling energy, by being more here and now. Energy flows where the attention goes, and the average human places the bulk of their attention in the past and in the future, totally absorbed in what happened before and what comes next, lost in the endless chatter of the mind. This leaves less awareness to be distributed through the nerve fiber system of the body and prevents the consciousness from expanding beyond it. By ceasing the endless chatter of the mind, we bring our consciousness out of the past and future and into the here and now. This allows us to channel enough energy and presence into the nerve fiber system of the body so that we can finally expand beyond it and into unity with the radiant sphere of spiritual energy that is our true beingness. Whereas before we were limited to the physical paradigm of separation from the world around us, we can now expand our sense of being beyond the skin of the body and experience the world around us as being an extension of our own self, dwelling in what we call unity consciousness. Even if you want to understand this from an entirely physical perspective, it still makes sense. Our consciousness is undeniably electromagnetic, as we are only able to sense, interpret, and interact within our body where we have an electrical connection to make that possible. Well, the human heart has an electromagnetic field that extends far beyond the body, and this is a scientific fact. It is therefore not too big of a gap to have to bridge to conceive that it is possible for our consciousness to extend its presence beyond the nerve fiber system and into the electromagnetic field of the energy of the heart. Thus, electrical pathways now exist for us to feel and interpret reality beyond the skin of our body with both a wired and a wireless connection, very similar to how our technology works today. The second stage of expansion of consciousness is piercing the veil and allowing our human self to begin to experience the multidimensional spiritual state of existence. And we achieve this by doing what we call theta meditations, training our conscious mind to be awake and aware from within the theta brainwave state. When we have trained sufficiently, the nature of our nightly experiences changes dramatically. We go from having random, chaotic, and meaningless dreams to having deep, rich, and fulfilling multidimensional out-of-body experiences, because now, each night as we go to sleep and the natural gravity pulls our consciousness out of the beta brainwaves, down into alpha, through the veil, and into the multidimensional spiritual state, we are able to maintain a waking state of focus. This is what we call piercing the veil. The human self in the normal waking state is now unified with the spiritual self in the multidimensional state of consciousness, and memory can begin to be shared between the two states of being. The soul and the ego are now as one. Now that we have explored the true nature of our being, how it is that we came to be limited to the physical paradigm, and what we can do to expand beyond that, let us explore the benefits of being connected in this way. How amazing it is to be in expanded consciousness, because it is an absolute game changer, both on an individual level and on a collective level. But let's explore the individual level first. As human beings, we live to feel. That is the whole point, to feel, to experience, to enrich ourselves by constantly having experiences that go above and beyond what we are used to. And currently we are achieving this, most of us, through materialism. We chase the new house that we're going to buy, the next job promotion that we get, the new car that we want, the next iPad, the next iPhone, or we chase instant gratification, the next chemical intoxication, or the next sexual experience. But with expanded consciousness, the doors open for us to experience and feel the most sensational and most amazing things just with what is naturally provided to us from birth. Just having breath and heartbeat in an expanded state of consciousness, it is more incredible of an experience than all the money in the world could buy. Your heartbeat, the energy of your heart goes many, many feet beyond the skin of your body. Every pulse of your heart is sending waves of electromagnetic energy in a toroidal field outward from your body. Boom. Boom. Imagine what it's like to actually feel that, to have your consciousness be fused with that energy and to be expanding in an orgasmic surge with every beat of your heart. With expanded consciousness, we also learn to connect our breath to energy. So instead of just pulling air in and out of the body, you can actually connect your breath to the electromagnetic energy spectrum, and then every breath of the lungs pulls energy in 360 degrees. Every breath out pushes it out, and this crisscrosses or overlaps with the heartbeat. So with just what you were given from birth in your body, having breath and heartbeat gives you the ability to experience things that go far beyond what a wealthy person of unlimited finances can achieve in this life. And then we have the state of connection in oneness with the natural world around us. In expanded consciousness, we regain our innate ability of the soul to expand our presence, to expand our sense of being beyond the skin of the body and into unity, into oneness with the natural world around us. Imagine how this feels to actually be able to feel things beyond the skin of your body as being a part of yourself. Everybody knows what it's like to feel sunlight on the skin of the body, that warm and vibrant sensation that we feel in our skin when the sun is shining on us. But how many know what it feels like to actually be sunlight? Imagine expanding your presence beyond the skin of your body and into the sunlight in the air and actually feeling it as an extension of your very being. That vibrancy, that radiance, that warmth, I mean, it's indescribable. Imagine fusing your consciousness into unity with the air around you, feeling the movement, feeling the particles, feeling it all shifting and flowing. Absolutely incredible. Imagine projecting your consciousness down beneath your feet, into the earth, into the soil, into the grass, and into the rocks, and feeling it as though it's an extension of your very legs. Imagine placing your hand on a tree and flowing your consciousness and your energetic essence out of your body and into the tree and encompassing it, actually feeling that tree as being another body of yours. The water coming up your roots and through the trunk, the radiant sunshine shining down on your leaves. It is absolutely indescribable. You also gain the ability to overlap with animals in the natural world and even at very high levels experience through their senses. So just imagine being connected in this way. Imagine what it would be like to view through the eyes of an eagle while it flies through the sky, or a dolphin while it swims through the water. I mean, so much is possible in the expanded state of oneness that we are going to achieve with the natural world through expansion of consciousness. We also enter into a magical state of perception because clairvoyance and extrasensory perception is a natural side effect of expanding the consciousness. So whereas most people just perceive a boring, bland, and physical three-dimensional world all around them, you are going to perceive an aura, a glow on all things in the physical world. All things, both animate and inanimate in the physical world, emit a subtle electromagnetic energetic field, and this is a scientific fact. Well, you are going to be able to see that everywhere. You're going to see a magical world of light that exists right on top of the physical world, and beyond that, you are going to feel it as an extension of your very being. Imagine feeling that radiance everywhere. I mean, the entire nature of the physical experience changes forever. Your life changes from a regular physical experience to a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week, deep and enriching spiritual experience. The illusion of death will also fade. It has been the standard part of the human experience since the beginning of time that, yeah, sure, we believe we have a spirit or a soul, and one day when we die, we'll figure all of that out, but there's nothing we can do to experience that now. Well, that's no longer true. We are in the age of the spiritualization of the third dimension, and it is now possible for anybody to find out for sure right now that their consciousness lives beyond the temporal physical body, that we are eternal living light and capable of exploring many other systems of reality. Anybody can know this for sure right now. I mean, that is a huge game changer. And we have all lost loved ones somewhere along the way in our walk of life. Imagine being able to simply leave your body at nighttime when you go to sleep, pass through the veil and find them, visit with them, spend quality time with them, to know that life goes on. This is going to change the nature of life on earth in such indescribable ways. Our dreams, which for most people are just random, chaotic, and meaningless, and quite often nightmares, are going to change into deep, enriching, and fulfilling multidimensional out-of-body experiences as we learn to penetrate the veil. And not only that, But the difference between waking up back into your physical body when you have to pass through the veil to get back into your physical system versus passing right through the veil consciously and waking up in the physical body is infinite. When you have to wake up the normal way by passing through the veil for your living light to return to the body, you wake up groggy, disoriented. It's like, who, what? You got to fill in all of the gaps because the variance between the two states of being is so vast. And that's why we wake up groggy, tired, disoriented, and confused. Well, once you've penetrated the veil, waking up is an entirely different story. Imagine flying through the air in your limitless light body, feeling the air whipping by you, feeling the adrenaline from the movement, and then just having that fade, and then all of a sudden you're in your body. That's what it's like to wake up from a multidimensional out-of-body experience. No grogginess, no dizziness, no sense of being tired, just a sense of radiance and being fulfilled and full of vitality because we don't have to pass through that veil. So waking up every single morning is a lot easier, not to mention all the other magical and amazing things that you're going to experience on a daily basis with the expanded consciousness. We are also going to gain spiritual abilities as we expand our consciousness into this state. And I mention this last for a reason, because it is, by far, the least important aspect of all of it. You can have all of the power in the world, but unless you have an open heart, a deep, rich, and fulfilling connection to all things, and are developing meaningful relationships with people, all the power in the world is worthless. Some of the most miserable people in the world are the ones that have the most power. And honestly, as these abilities develop for you, if you end up believing that you have power, it's sort of delusional. And I'll explain that in a minute. But yes, you are going to gain spiritual abilities. When you have expanded consciousness beyond the skin of your body, your mind is going, and your energy is going to start to be able to influence things. Because that's just how it works. Wherever your mind has a conscious presence, it has a degree of influence. Even within your own physical body, if you sit on your leg the wrong way and your leg ends up going numb, when you stand up to walk, you are unable to move that leg at all. Even though you know precisely how to move it from many, many years of owning a leg, it is completely unresponsive to your mind. And that is because you no longer have a conscious presence there. So that is the reason why those of us who have expanded our consciousness have these spiritual abilities that we demonstrate, where we can cause gusts of wind to blow, or change the direction of the wind as it blows, or place our hand in water and without moving the hand cause the water to start rippling by radiating our energy, or moving small objects inside of sealed containers. And there's many more than that. But it's not so much that it's a power. It's interaction. It's communication. It's co-creation. It's never you demonstrating power over nature. It's you combining your essence, your intelligence, your personality in oneness with the external world and co-creating with it. Now that your mind is externalized, things are going to begin to respond to you. You'll be able to cause healing in the bodies of other people with expanded presence. You simply externalize your mind and your energy into the body of the person who has an illness or an injury themselves, and your mind and your energy is capable of changing their physical cellular structure and the energy within their body, which causes or enacts healing. Sometimes instantaneous, but most often it's over a period of time. You are going to gain that ability on an individual level as you open up to expanded consciousness. And you are also going to be a walking manifester of higher consciousness and greater positive energy in other people, because everywhere you go in the physical world with your expanded presence, you are going to be lifting people up with your own vibration, with your own radiance, with your own positive emotions. You are now going to be connected to other people in the same way that I just described having a connection to the natural world. So everywhere you go, you're just going to notice that you have the ability to brighten up a room, to make people happy, to heal. You'll notice that people around you will start having spiritual experiences. I mean, the list goes on. It is truly unbounded bliss to expand your consciousness this way on an individual level, but the absolute game changer is what this means on a collective level, and that is what we are going to explore next. For as long as we can remember, humanity has existed in a state of consciousness that we call separation. With our consciousness confined to the nervous system of the human body, we have experienced ourselves as being separate from the world around us. Anything beyond the skin of our body is perceived as the world that we live in, but not as an extension of our own self. And this is what it means to be in separation consciousness. Survival is also the name of the game here because we're experiencing ourselves as being limited physical creatures. So survival plus separation consciousness equals every single problem that we have had as a society since the beginning of time. Many great teachers and prophets have come to us through the ages and obtained unity consciousness through their own expansion and then shared philosophy with us. Philosophy of unity, to treat your neighbor as your own self, to love others as if they are your own self, to be in harmony with the natural world around us. And this has aided somewhat, but it hasn't resulted in a complete transformation because it's contrary to our nature. Our nature as a separated being in a survival-based reality system tells us to look out for number one, and quite possibly those that are very close to us, like friends and family. But survival and separation have caused embracing of these higher philosophies to be a mental struggle. It requires mental discipline. It requires effort to transform yourself out of this survival and separation game and into a way of interacting with each other and the world around us that is harmonious and sustaining. But once each individual expands their mind and their presence into unity through the expanded energetic field that connects us all, we obtain what we call unity consciousness, and that is the planetary game changer that we've all been waiting for, because now all things beyond the skin of the body are experienced as being a literal part of yourself, as being an extension of your very being. So we end up seeing that the happiness of the people in our local reality and even globally is directly related to our own individual happiness. We see that the state of the natural world around us is related to our own internal health and harmony because we are one. And guys, this is how it has been since the beginning of time. The electromagnetic energy, the spiritual energy that connects all life has always been there, and we have always been affecting each other with our moods, with our emotions, with our health, with the state of the natural world. These things have always had an impact on the state of our internal being, but being confined to the electrical system of the human body has allowed our ego consciousness to just ignore that data. Well, we can't ignore it any longer. We are on a crash course of destruction. The way we are currently living on planet Earth is not sustainable. And only when each individual obtains a connection to unity consciousness will this finally be able to change. Because it is no longer a philosophical choice to love your neighbor as yourself, to treat other people the way you would like to be treated, and to be in harmony with the natural world around you. That's no longer a philosophical choice in unity consciousness. It's a logical choice, because it's not your mind that has changed, it's your nature that has changed. We will have gone from separate creatures to unified creatures, and that is the game changer that we've all been waiting for. When we have all, as individuals, expanded into unity consciousness, there is not one facet of our life as a society that is not going to change. Science. I mean, imagine the advances we are going to make in science once every scientist understands expansion of consciousness and the unified energetic field that interconnects all life. We will make more achievements in 10 years of that than we have made in the hundreds of years viewing reality through the lenses of separation consciousness. Art, math, music, government. There is not one aspect of society that is not going to completely rearrange itself to suit the state of the new natural human, which is going to be one of unity consciousness. That's all we have to share for this video. There will be many more to come in the future, and I want to encourage everybody to dive as deep into this as you possibly can. There is truly no greater gift that you can give yourself and the world than that of your own transformation. Namaste, and God bless you.